Welcome to Training Ground Dispatch here on the SDH Network. I'm Madison Cruz, and joined with me is the voice of Atlanta United in Jason Longshore. And we are here going to wrap up everything that happened today at media availability for Tuesday's session for Atlanta United. Now, we had the opportunity to chat with Dax McCarty for media availability today, and you had the opportunity to ask him how important or how different it is with home pressure and away pressure, especially when it comes to the crowd. And here's what he had to say.
It is different. The onus is more on us to bring the game to the opponent. And I think it's great that, we're playing, at this moment, the best team in the league. They set the record with most points ever. I think that's great for us because they won't sit back, which is I think makes for a very entertaining open game. I mean, I think the last time we played them at the Benz, it was like a training session. It was like 5v5 in both halves. It was crazy. And it's exciting for the fans. I don't think players and coaches necessarily love a game to get like that. But for us, we have to open up some. We can't just allow them to dictate the game like they did in Miami. That's not a recipe for success. So I think that with an aggressive mentality, an aggressive mindset, well-rested legs, we will be able to open the game up a little bit more and try to hurt them more with the ball, because you have to test their back line. They have good players back there, but they have shown that they can see goals if you put pressure on them. And so just finding the balance, like I said, about not opening up too much to give their good players more gaps to exploit, but making sure that that we're not scared of the moment and that we really go for it in front of our fans.
So, yeah, it's really different when you're on the road and you have no fans there, and maybe it's a little more comfortable in those moments to sit back and defend and frustrate and get the crowd upset. That gives you a different vibe than when you're at home and you kind of feel your crowd antsy, your crowd anxious, and that can sometimes spur you to open up too much. Sometimes it can spur you forward. Sometimes it can give you energy late in a game when you're tired. It's just very different. And what we've seen lately from this team is on the road, they've handled the pressure of being the underdog and being the spoiler in a way. But at home, it's harder in a way. You have expectations. You have you feel like you have to play a certain way to entertain and get results. This team has to kind of block some of that out against Miami. I think maybe there is a little bit more forgiveness for having less of the ball, defending a little bit more. Because as we've seen all season long against this team, Atlanta can find those opportunities getting forward against Miami.
And even looking at that matchup as a whole, we saw that matchup later on earlier in the season and how electric that crowd was. How do you think that crowd, especially on Saturday, is going to impact it, especially when a lot of the fans might be there to see Messi, might be there to see some of the big faces on Inter Miami, but also there to support the Five Stripes?
Yeah, look, I mean, you have a lot of Atlanta United fans that are going to be there, no question about it, and they're going to be loud, and they're going to try to push this team on. You will have some people there either as Messi fans, you'll have some Miami fans, true Miami fans, you'll have some Messi fans, but you also have a lot of people that are there for a show, and we saw it last time out. When that show started turning Atlanta's way, people got behind it and people were cheering and excited about the home team. So it's a different vibe than a big playoff game against a Philadelphia, against Seattle, against somebody else. Against Miami, you get some of that. We're here to be entertained. We're here for the show. And if Atlanta can do that, then they'll get that entire crowd, with the exception of the real Miami fans. You'll get that entire crowd behind them. You had the opportunity to ask Bartosz Slisz about counterattacking, and I thought Bartosz gave a really good answer, really interesting answer. Here it is.
Yeah, like I said, they leave 4 attackers in offense, but when we lose the ball, they are there. So it's also, we have to take care about that, and I think the rest defense also is very important. And to be awareness, because Suarez is always on, let's say, on offside, but he's always on time on onside, and so like I said, we have to be awareness about these players in rest defense, and don't give them the space. That's it.
Yeah, and Bartosz actually took the answer in a little bit of a different direction than I initially thought going into it. But he gave a really good response, especially how to deal with Inter Miami and what they can do on the ball.
Yeah, it was really insightful because, when you think about attacking or counter-attacking a lot of times we leave the potential for then becoming defenders out of that equation. Bartosz is dead on. You have to have that in the back of your mind. You don't want it to limit you getting forward. You don't want it to limit you. And I had the chance to follow up a little bit about, did he feel like he'll have time on the ball to pick out the passes that he wants? And he feels comfortable in that. But you always have to have in the back of your mind, even if he's in an offside position, El Pistolero Luis Suarez, you always have to have in the back of your mind, wherever he is roaming on the field, Lionel Messi. You have to be aware of that. And you can't forget about Jordi Alba bombing forward, and you can't forget about Diego Gomez, and you can't forget about Sergio Busquets hitting that ball over the top, and you can't forget maybe about Julian Gressel coming into the team, and a million different things that you have to be thinking about when you're looking to attack, when you're on the ball. That's a lot to balance. You have to find a way to do it in this match.
Now, but we also had the opportunity to watch the full training session today with everyone, got to see the full hour and a half of training, and you had the opportunity to take away some of the things that you saw, especially in some of the drills they were doing. What were some of your big takeaways from today's media availability?
Yeah, I think it was a really thorough session that Rob Valentino and his staff put together to, one, get the team back on the field. And, a couple of days rest was vital for this group, with as tired as they were after things in Fort Lauderdale. So you get the group back on the field, but it's strategic in what you're working on. They worked on 2v2s a lot with high intensity, one goal to decide the session. So you have to be sharp, you have to be intense, but it's 2v2. Find a combination and defend 2v2. How many times do you see those moments with Miami where it's Messi looking for a partner to play off of right around the top of the 18 that you have to defend? But also, when you get forward, how many times do you see it 2v2 going into the attack? And then you saw another opportunity in the activity that they finished with that was all about not giving up shots.